Hi guys, I'm here to read chapter 6 of Ramona the Pest. So chapter 6 is titled The Baddest Witch in the World. So let's see what that's about. It looks like a holiday's coming up, right? Halloween maybe? Here we go. When the morning kindergarten cut jack-o'-lanterns from orange paper and pasted them on the windows so that the light shone through the eye and mouth holes, Ramona knew that at last Halloween was not far away. Next to Christmas and her birthday, Ramona liked Halloween best. She liked dressing up and going trick-or-treating after dark with Beezus. She liked those nights when the bare branches of trees waved against the streetlights and the world was a ghostly place. Ramona liked scaring people, and she liked the shivery feeling of being scared herself. Ramona had always enjoyed going to school with her mother to watch the boys and girls of Glenwood School Parade on the playground in their Halloween costume. Afterward, she used to eat a donut and drink a paper cup of apple juice if there happened to be some left over. This year, after years of sitting on the benches with mothers and little brothers and sisters, Ramona was finally going to get to wear a costume and march around and around the playground. This year, she had a donut and apple juice coming to her. "Mama, did you buy my mask?" Ramona asked every day when she came home from school. "Not today, dear," Mrs. Quimby answered. "Don't pester. I'll get it the next time I go down to the shopping center." Ramona, who did not mean to pester her mother, could not see why grown-ups had to be so slow. "Make it a bad mask, Mama," she said. "I want to be the baddest witch in the whole world." "You mean the worst witch," Beezus said, whenever she happened to overhear this conversation. "I do not," contradicted Ramona. "I mean the baddest witch." Baddest witch sounded much scarier than worst witch, and Ramona didn't enjoy stories about bad witches. The badder, the better. She had no patience with books about good witches, because witches were supposed to be bad. Ramona had chosen to be a witch for that very reason. Then one day when Ramona came home from school, she found 2 paper bags on the foot of her bed. One contained black material and a pattern for a witch costume. The picture on the pattern showed the witch's hat pointed like the letter A. Ramona reached into the second bag and pulled out a rubber witch mask, so scary that she quickly dropped it on the bed because she was not sure she even wanted to touch it. The flabby thing was grayish-green color of mold and had stringy hair and a hooked nose, snaggy teeth, and a wart on its nose. Its empty eyes seemed to stare at Ramona with a look of evil. The face was so ghastly that Ramona had to remind herself that it was only a rubber mask from the dime store before she could summon enough courage to pick it up and slip it over her head. Ramona peeked cautiously in the mirror, backed away, and then gathered her courage for a longer look. "That's really me in there," she told herself, and felt better. She ran off to show her mother and discovered that she felt very brave when she was inside the mask and did not have to look at it. "I'm the baddest witch in the world," she shouted, her voice muffled by the mask, and was delighted when her mother was so frightened she dropped her sewing. Oh, look at that mask. Ramona waited for Beezus and her father to come home so she could put on her mask and jump out and scare them. But that night, before she went to bed, she rolled up the mask and hid it behind a cushion of the couch in the living room. "What are you doing that for?" asked Beezus, who had nothing to be afraid of. "She was planning to be a princess and wear a narrow pink mask." "Because I want to," answered Ramona, who did not care to sleep in the same room with that ghastly, leering face. Afterward, when Ramona wanted to frighten herself, She would lift the cushion for a quick glimpse of the scary mask before she clapped the pillow over it again. Scaring herself was such fun. When Ramona's costume was finished and the day of the Halloween parade arrived, the morning kindergarten had trouble sitting still for seat work. They wiggled so much while resting on their mats that Miss Binney had to wait a long time before she found someone quiet enough to be the wake-up fairy. When kindergarten was finally dismissed, the whole class forgot the rules and went stampeding out of the door. At home, Ramona ate only the soft part of her tuna fish sandwich because her mother insisted she could not go to the Halloween parade on an empty stomach. She waded the crusts into her paper napkin and hid them beneath the edge of her plate before she ran to her room to pick on her long black dress, her cape, her mask, and her pointed witch hat held on by an elastic under her chin. Ramona had doubts about that elastic. None of the witches whom she met in books seemed to have an elastic under the chin, but today she was too happy and excited to bother to make a fuss. "See, Mama," she cried, "I'm the baddest witch in the world." Mrs. Quimby smiled at Ramona, patted her through the long black dress, and said affectionately, "Sometimes I think you are." "Come on, Mama, let's go to the Halloween parade." Ramona had waited so long that she didn't see how she could wait another 5 minutes. "I told Howie's mother we would wait for them," said Mrs. Quimby. "Mama, did you have to?" protested Ramona, running to the front window to watch for Howie. Fortunately, Mrs. Kemp and Willa Jean were already approaching, with Howie dressed in a black cat costume lagging along behind, holding the end of his tail in one hand. Willa Jean in her stroller was wearing a buck-toothed rabbit mask. Ramona could not wait. She burst out the front door, yelling through her mask. There she is. "Yeah, I'm the baddest witch in the world. Hurry, Howie, I'm gonna get you, Howie." Howie walked stolidly along, lugging his tail, so Ramona ran out to meet him. He was not wearing a mask, but instead had pipe cleaners scotch taped on his face for whiskers. "I'm the baddest witch in the world," Ramona informed him, "and you can be my cat." "I don't want to be your cat," said Howie. "I don't want to be a cat at all." "Why not, Howie?" asked Mrs. Quimby, who had joined Ramona and the Kemps. "I think you make a very nice cat." "My tail is busted," complained Howie. "I don't want to be a cat with a busted tail." Mrs. Kemp sighed. "Now, Howie, if you'll just hold up the end of your tail, nobody will notice." "Then," she said to Mrs. Quimby, "I promised him a pirate costume, but his older sister was sick while I was taking her temperature." Willa Jean crawled into the cupboard and managed to dump a whole quarter of salad oil all over the kitchen floor. If you've ever had to clean up oil off the floor, you know what I went through. And then Howie went into the bathroom and climbed up. "Yes, dear, I understand you wanted to help," to get a sponge, and he accidentally kneeled on a tube of toothpaste that someone left the top off of. "Now, Howie, I didn't say you left the top off." And toothpaste squirted all over the bathroom, and there was another mess to clean up. Well, I finally had to drag his sister's old cat costume out of the drawer, and when he put it on, we discovered the wire of the tail was broken, but there wasn't time to rip it apart and put on a new wire. "You have a handsome set of whiskers," said Mrs. Quimby, trying to coax Howie to look on the bright side. "Scotch tape itches me," said Howie. Ramona could see that Howie was not going to be any fun at all, even on Halloween. Never mind. She would have fun all by herself. "I'm the baddest witch in the world," she sang in her muffled voice, skipping with both feet. "I'm the baddest witch in the world." When they were in sight of the playground, Ramona saw that it was already swarming with both the morning and afternoon kindergartens in their Halloween costumes. Poor Miss Binny, dressed like Mother Goose, now had the responsibility of 68 boys and girls. "Run along, Ramona," said Mrs. Quimby when they had crossed the street. "Howie's mother and I will go around to the big playground and try to find a seat on a bench before they are all taken." Ramona ran screaming onto the playground. "Yay, yeah, I'm the baddest witch in the world." Nobody paid any attention because everyone else was screaming too. The noise was glorious. Ramona yelled and screamed and shrieked and chased anyone who would run. She chased tramps and ghosts and ballerinas. Sometimes other witches in masks exactly like hers chased her, and then she would turn around and chase the witches right back. She tried to chase Howie, but he would not run. He just stood beside the fence, holding his broken tail and missing all the fun. Ramona discovered dear little Davy in a skimpy pirate costume from the dime store. She could tell he was Davy by his thin legs. At last she pounced and kissed him through her rubber mask. Davy looked startled, but he had the presence of mind to make a gagging noise while Ramona raced away, satisfied that she finally had managed to catch and kiss Davy. Then Ramona saw Susan getting out of her mother's car. So before I go on, there she is kissing Davy. That's her with Susan, right? Curly-haired Susan. That's her chasing the other kids. Okay. As she might have guessed, Susan was dressed as an old-fashioned girl with a long skirt, an apron, and pantalettes. "I'm the baddest witch in the world," yelled Ramona, and ran after Susan, whose curls bobbed daintily about her shoulders in a way that could not be disguised. Ramona was unable to resist. After weeks of longing, she tweaked one of Susan's curls and yelled, "Boing!" through her rubber mask. "You stop that," said Susan, and smoothed her curls. Yeah, I'm the baddest witch in the world." Ramona was carried away. She tweaked another curl and yelled a muffled "boing." A clown laughed and joined Ramona. He too tweaked a curl and yelled "boing." The old-fashioned girl stamped her foot. "You stop that," she said angrily. "Boing, boing." Others joined the game. Let me see. I think we're going to... Okay. Susan tried to run away, but no matter which way she ran, there was someone eager to stretch a curl and yell "boing." Susan ran to Miss Binny. "Miss Binny, Miss Binny," she cried. "They're teasing me. They're pulling my hair and boing me." "Who's teasing you?" said Miss Binny. "Everyone," said Susan tearfully. "A witch started it." "Which witch?" said Mrs. Binny. Susan looked around. "I don't know which witch," she said, "but it was a bad witch." "That's me, the baddest witch in the world," thought Ramona. At the same time, she was a little surprised that others really would not know that she was behind her mask. Had never occurred to her. "Never mind, Susan," said Miss Binny.